Welcome again, ahoy there, from the mighty folk at Haynes & Co. We're going to be doing another wonderful bottle review with the Commodore
and the Admiral.
So, so you can hear us. So, today we're going to be reviewing the wonderful Caroni 17-year-old.
It's rum of the month for November.
Right, what can we say? There's a lot to say about Caroni. There's a lot to say about rum in totality, really. And we're now just sort of finding people who are really getting back into rums. But it's a pretty amazing bottle, 55% alcohol. The wonderful picture on the front of it, I don't know if you can still see it all there, but it's got some sailors who've just come in, you know, hanging on the wharf, smoking a pipe, you know, as you would.
Living it up.
Living it up. Back in the day, the Navy sailors were given their ration on the high seas was either a pint of gin for the officers and a pint of rum for the sailors.
Not enough.
Because by that time they'd run out of gin to supply the whole crew, so they did a bit of trading and brought the rum on board. It's got a lot of wonderful stories behind it, also known as Nelson's Blood, or certainly Puss's was, which was the British Navy rum. Because when Lord Horatio Nelson died in battle, and he was an amazing statistician and things, he was taken out, and rather than just throw him overboard the sharks, they thought they should take him back to London. And the only way to do that for a proper burial was to embalm him. And to embalm him, what'd they do, Commodore?
Put him in some rum.
Put him in a barrel of rum. That's right. And so then the sailors going back to England. It's a fairly long trip without their pint of rum a day.
A thirsty trip.
And without the ability, you know, certainly in days you'd be calmed or something, you'd get fairly bored and not being able to have their rum. So it was known that what they did was they used a corkscrew or something, and they drilled a little hole into the barrel where Lord Nelson remained and took the rum out. And so therefore it was known as Nelson's Blood.
Bit of extra flavour in there. What a way to go out. Buried in rum.
Now, okay, so we're talking about Caroni, and I can't wait to taste that, so let's get really piratey.
Now, Caroni, unfortunately, has been. Are we going straight in here?
Let's go in there.
Why
Look,
not?
I think we will give it, like, this is actually amazing product. I'm going to end up, we might even pour it into these glasses so we can actually properly taste it and smell it, because it is something which deserves a lot of respect. It's pretty amazing. Sorry, interrupted you.
No, all good. Talk about the Caroni. So, unfortunately now closed down in 2002, 2003. But luckily enough, the juice was found by Luca Gagano from Belier.
Luca Gagano is an amazing historian when it comes to rum, and
the man.
And certainly someone who looks after it and is a big believer in it, which is fantastic. Caroni came from Trinidad, once boasted over 50 distilleries. Obviously rum is coming from sugarcane, so there's a lot of sugarcane production, and the making of sugar, the byproduct left at the end after you've actually sort of boiled it down, you've crystallized it, you put it in the centrifuge to get the crystals out, then you're left with molasses. And I'll do that a few times to the point that you've got like blackstrap molasses. This is now only about 45% sugar in it, whereas before it starts at a sort of, I think about the 80% sugar concentrate. So then they'll then, rather than just waste that, and that would be sustainable, and these days are all about sustainability, and also there was possibly thirsty people on the island, that they would then add water and yeast, ferment it, and then create a rum, and that's basically how rum is made.
That's it. And again, over 50 distilleries in Trinidad. That was probably about, in the last 100 years, it's been 50. That has now whittled down to just the one, which we now know as Angostura. They make the bitters and a couple of different rums as well. But yeah, 2002, the state-owned plantation that Caroni was on in the Caroni fields actually closed down. And unfortunately, that was the end of the Caroni Distillery with the closing of the sugar plantation.
So that was 1923 to 2002. So it was about 80 years they produced it for. And Caroni is one of these rums that is very high ester. You know, you can make rums in pot and column still. Most of them will use a little bit of both, but the column stills are probably run as a bit of a shorter take out of it, so that you've got more flavour in it. So these are high ester. So Jamaican rum is also known as very high ester rums, and they've got all the funky flavours in it. Often people would buy Caroni rum to blend with their white rums to give them that flavour and depth.
Back in the 70s, 80s, it wasn't actually seen as a premium rum at all. If anything, the kind of funkiness of it was actually off-putting to a lot of people. So again, it was just used for blending. A lot got sold to places like Germany in really high proofs, really high ester counts. Then they take it over to somewhere in Europe like Germany, and they just use a very small percentage, maybe 5% of that really funky Caribbean rum, and then blend it in with 95% of their own rum. And just that 5% was enough to really give their own rum enough funk and flavour to it. So it wasn't actually a sought after rum back when it was open, but certainly now that it's bottled, there's more of this kind of whiskey connoisseur thing happening in bars now, and I think this is certainly a rum to push whiskey drinkers on.
Absolutely. And you'll find that Caroni is actually bottled by independent bottlers. And there's only a few of them that Luca will use. So you'll see some different labels on things, and also some of them are cask strength. There's some beautiful labels, the sort of people that were working within the fields at the times, and some of them are very powerful images. I think all the distilleries that were on Trinidad were in an alliance, and the government held a large part of that. Now they sold off that. They sold 49% holding in the Rum Distilleries Limited, which was the Caroni Rum division, off to Angostura. That was, as you said, in 2002. So that was $35 million. Thanks very much for them. That's great. I'm sure that was pocketed by some of them. And so there is no longer, and that's also led to the demise of the Trinidad sugar industry. So now they get most of their sugar from Guyana, also a wonderful and fantastic producer of rums.
That's it. I think we need to start nosing this and put some in our mouth, because I can't wait.
I don't know what I want to drink out of.
It smells great, pretty big. I'm really keen to drink out one of these, but just to nose it.
Oh my
certainly
God.
it's pretty funky, it's pretty big. Again, this is bottled at 55%. And a rum like this, so this was aged for anywhere up to, I think, 14 to 15 years in the tropics, and then brought over to the UK and aged for a bit longer by Luca at Bellier. Still pulling it out of the barrel at 55%, which is pretty impressive. And yeah,
some of the barrels he came across when he took over the distillery, I think he was going on for a walk. He saw the old warehouse, found out there was still rum inside, and then bought the whole lot of it.
He partnered with Le Maison de Whiskey, and then bought up all the barrels, and then he is not just an independent bottler, but he is an importer as well. So he just basically imports rum for a lot of people as well. There was no one to bottle the Caroni, and so he did it himself. But another great thing that we appreciate about Bellier is you've got the distillery name on there. Again, defunct distillery, not many people knew who Caroni was, but Luca wants to really champion the distillery, so big label of Caroni on there, and then just really tiny down the bottom is that it's imported by Le Maison de Whiskey and Bellier. So they're not trying to take any credit or anything like that. Again, they're just they're more concerned about just saving a traditional style of rum, which just isn't made anymore. So you really can't find a rum like this in this style made anymore.
It does have that big high ester funky nose. You still have the vanillas, but you've got things like a little bit of the rubber note in there. I do find I still get stone fruits.
Absolutely, it's still quite tropical. I think there's still like banana-y type notes and things like that.
Some pineapple, but more of a cooked, heavier or overripe pineapple.
And just a long finish already. I can feel this just stuck in my tongue. It's coated my mouth, and it's just not going anywhere for a while. And it just gets nice and nice, almost a bit of a smokiness as it kind of dissipates.
It's not hot at all. At 55%,
No.
you expect this to have a bit of a burn, but it's not like that. It's amazing. This
Absolutely.
is phenomenal. And this is a piece of history. It's obviously not being made anymore. The stills are gone. They don't exist there anymore. This to be able to drink this and have this available now is pretty amazing. I think it's actually also a very good price. What are we selling this for, Commodore?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm not too
$7.
sure. It's $20, $21 maybe.
$21,
For
okay.
this 17-year-old rum aged mostly in the Caribbean. In fact, I reckon these bottles had close to 75% angel share loss
Huge.
in those barrels. 75% of the original liquid that they put in the barrels just evaporated and has gone to the lovely angels.
Well, that is fantastic. It's a beautiful rum, certainly worth trying. I suggest you get in Haintico, come in, hear a little bit more about it, have a look at the bottle. It's beautiful. The way it's been done is fantastic. The lovely old bottle styles and shapes is brilliant.
Might want to pair it with a cigar. Might want to pair it with a whiskey.
I'd do this with a cigar.
I do it as a cigar and a whiskey, but that's just me.
So you out there to lifting spirits
To lifting spirits from the Admiral
and the Commodore.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.